I'd like to join my great speakers by wishing Nigerians Happy Democracy Day. And while I listened to the President's speech, which I would consider quite apt and coincides, I feel that his administration has an uphill task of making true of all those promises, because just like the other speakers have said, Nigerians have lost the confidence, in the leadership, and understandably so. And putting it in perspectives, I was looking at the numbers in terms of the importance of security, some of the big things. So I'd like to take it holistically first before I narrow it down a bit. And I look at security, I look at unemployment, as at now it's about 33%, out of which like 70% are the youth. And then I look at the issues of interest rates, it's about 22%, all-time high in 18 years or so. And then the GDP is 2.3%, which is even lower than the 3.1% as at 2022. And then we talk about the 2023 budget. It's about 21 trillion. 10 trillion of it is internally generated revenue. So 11 trillion of that is what? And then when you look at that, you look at how much of all that funds, it comes from servicing loans, then how much of all that funds is going into expenditure, paying salaries and things like that, about 8.3%, and that's about 40% of the entire budget. And then you look at how much goes into servicing all of these loans, which is about 6.3 trillion, and that's like 29%. So holistically, you're saying about close to 70% goes into recurring expenses and things like that, and then just less than about 30% goes into social infrastructure, talking about education, talking about health, talking about roads, and so many other things. So all of that. And then on top of that, we talk about the subsidy. So while I commend the president for decisively removing, the fuel subsidy, there's so much that still needs to be done. And now talking about bringing it home to our sector in the oil and gas, I look at it and I'm like, this is the right time for the government to start seeing how they can de-emphasize a lot of focus on oil. So Nigeria has been branded oil and gas, understandably so. But the truth of the matter is, the gas sector, for example, I see that as a transition field in terms of that is where a lot should be going into. And then in terms of agriculture, manufacturing, I look at, gas to cleaner energy to domestic use. I look at gas to industrialization, petrochemical industries, plastic, textiles. I look at gas to power, I look at gas to agriculture, to fertilizers and things like that. So there's a lot that needs to happen in that framework. I was actually reading one of the documents that was released by the government, by the president's team. He put together a team, an advisory. It's the oil and gas subcommittee of the what do you call that? Policy Advisory Council, exactly. And they made some very good recommendations in terms of seeing how the federal government can reduce their involvement in the onshore, and shallow water JVs and all of that. And that made sense to me, because when they do things like that, it reduces the amount of bureaucracy, inefficiency, allows the indigenous oil companies to play in that space, and that increases efficiency. Because immediately, when I was looking at the numbers, I think they said it was up to maybe the value was about maybe $19 billion. I'm not really sure about the figures, but that helps them to also increase their revenue, and even though they still keep a lot of their revenues in terms of the upstream sector, so that's one thing that they can look into, and other things I believe that as we're speaking, I'll delve more into things like that.
Let's thank Yinka Opeke in our Abuja studios, Engineer Janet Adeyemi, who joined us virtually, same with Bismarck Rwani, and then of course here in the Lagos studios, Segun Ajayi Kadri and Taiwo Oyedele. Thank you all very much for your contributions.